What's going on, everybody? It's your man Oskino the Don, and you are officially listening to the Dawn of a Don podcast, official episode number 1, and we are going live right now. So the topic for today's podcast is going to be about the National Basketball Association, aka the NBA, right? So we are about a month into the regular season, and about 17, 16 games played. So far in the Eastern Conference, Boston and Milwaukee are pretty much neck and neck. 13-4 for the Boston Celtics and 12-4 for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then surprisingly, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they did get a good pickup with Donovan Mitchell, and they did show promise last year, with having a chance to get into the playoffs. And for them to start off as quick as they are at 11-6, and with Donovan Mitchell putting up his numbers, that's definitely something to watch for moving forward throughout the season. Number 4, you have the Indiana Pacers, which I don't think anybody saw them getting off to this start, 10-6 after 16 games. Then 5 and 6 spot, you got the Wizards and the Hawks. The Hawks are looking pretty good with that new duo in the backcourt with Trae Young and homie from the Spurs. I forgot his name. I think it's, hold on, let me just double check. I believe it's DeJounte Murray. I believe that's how you say his first name. Let me just double check to make sure. Yep, DeJounte Murray. So you got those two guards who are young, very explosive, and can really be seen as combo guards because they could both play the point guard and the two, whatever's asked of them at a particular time in the game, right? And then after that, you got the Philadelphia 76ers, who have struggled because of injuries. They're 9-8 right now. So, Joel Embiid has missed some games. James Harden has missed some games. As well as Maxey. I forgot his first name, but Maxey, that young guard that they got, that putting in a lot of work. You can see the improvements throughout the years. You got the Toronto Raptors at 9-8, New York Knicks at 9-9. No surprise there. New York Knicks, are pretty much going to be like a 500 team probably for the remainder of the season. I don't see any changes being made there or them improving the roster much at all, especially because nobody really wants to play for my New York Knicks. But it's all good. And then you got the Brooklyn Nets, who are at the 10th spot right now. So they barely be making the play-in right now as we speak at 8-10. They had some issues also with Kyrie Irving and that whole nonsense with the league trying to paint him as a hateful individual, and that's so far from the truth. But that's another story for another day. And right now, if the playoffs started for the Eastern Conference, Chicago Bulls wouldn't be in, Miami Heat wouldn't be in. I mean, those two would be surprising if they didn't make the playoffs or play in, the Bulls and the Heat. And then the remaining 3 teams is really no surprise because these franchises haven't really been that good for quite some time. You got the Charlotte Hornets, Orlando Magic, and the Detroit Pistons, who fill out the bottom of the Eastern Conference standards in NBA. And now for the Western Conference, it's super close in the Western Conference right now, right? So between the 12th seed and the 1st seed, there's only a difference of 4 losses. And if you want to even compact that even more, from the play-in all the way up to the 1st seed, so the play-in would be the 10th seed for those who may watch or listen to this podcast and are unaware of what a play-in is for the NBA, as it is something that has been introduced over the last couple of years. But right now, if the playoffs started in the West Coast, the Golden State Warriors would not be in the playoffs. Now, that to me is the most surprisingly shocking start for any team in the NBA other than the Sacramento Kings. Can y'all believe that's the Sacramento Kings are the 3rd seed in the NBA right now after 16 games? They are 10-6 with a win streak of 7 And that's the highest win streak that they've had since the year 2004, when your boy Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, and Peja Stojakovic was out there, you know what I mean, getting buckets. So the first seed in the Western Conference are the Phoenix Suns, followed up by the Utah Jazz at 12-7. Then you have the Sacramento Kings, as I mentioned, is the third seed, 10-6. Then you have a bunch of teams with 7 and 8 losses. Clippers, Pelicans, Blazers, Nuggets, Mavericks, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves to round off the top 10 seeds in the Western Conference. And the remaining is the Warriors, Thunder, Spurs, Lakers, and Rockets. So if the playoffs or play-in started today, those teams would not be in. So how do I see this season panning out? Let's see. Well, I believe, barring any significant injury to any key player on any of the championship caliber teams, as far as the conferences go, I mean, I think it's clear, cut and dry that in the Eastern Conference Finals, if indeed these teams stay at the 1 and 2 seed, they could flip-flop, what have you, right? But I believe you will see the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Conference Finals in this year's season of 2022 to 2023 NBA playoffs. So that's who I see making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then as far as who's going to win the East, I'm going to pick the Bucks, because I don't see anybody in the Eastern Conference that can really deal with Antetokounmpo, right? Now, there could be a sleeper in there like Philly. Philly's injured right now, but if they get healthy and can stay healthy, Embiid is a problem as well. So that could cause a matchup, I would say matchup problem in certain instances if you match up the Sixers with the Bucks. They match up actually pretty well, like player by player, right? Like Drew Holiday versus James Harden, they could almost cancel each other out. And then you got Maxey, who, or you could say Maxey and Holiday cancel each other out, and then Middleton and Harden can cancel each other out, and then it just leaves the two big dogs, Giannis and Embiid, right? So that would be a nice series to see in the conference finals as well. But I think that it's going to be Boston in Milwaukee in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Now, the Western Conference, this is tricky, right? Because a few weeks into the season, I mean, the Lakers, they look like the worst team in the league by far, right? Even with the talented players that they had with Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. But they've been picking it up a lot lately. And, you know, Russell Westbrook has looked a lot better in his newly accepted role coming off the bench. He's embraced it, and he's playing a lot better and a lot smarter. Now, he still makes stupid turnovers, which he shouldn't be doing. But other than that, you know, I'm definitely rooting for Russell Westbrook, right? He could be the only player in NBA history to win an MVP, Most Improved Player, and Sixth Man of the Year. That would be insane. And I think that right there alone would just, like, it should cease all that talk about Westbrook not being able to adjust his game, because he actually is doing it right now on the fly. Now, he'll never be a great shooter, right? And, you know, he is turnover prone, but what we've seen from him coming off the bench looks a lot better in rhythm. So the reason why I bring that up is because the Lakers are like a wild card, right? Like, if Russell Westbrook keeps playing the way he's been playing off the bench, and now Anthony Davis in the past 4 games, over 30 points a game and over 17 rebounds in the last 5 games, right? So, like, these are numbers that we're used to seeing from, like, a Giannis or Embiid. Anthony Davis is more than capable of getting these numbers. And, like, since LeBron has been out, Anthony Davis has really stepped up. But we need him to do this even when LeBron is there, because LeBron's in the year 20. He can't carry a team like that anymore. Like, he can help you close out and stuff like that. But Anthony Davis, if you keep playing the way you've been playing these past 5 games, y'all might mess around and make it to the finals, because you are that dominant. So I don't know if it's because you got injured and your injuries have your confidence low. You're just not aggressive because you're afraid to get hurt. Fuck all that. You should be dominating these dudes. There ain't no really big men left in the league anymore. All the big men are superstars like yourself, right? Like, well, we got Jokic, they got Embiid, Giannis. I mean, what other big men really are there in the league, you know? So you should really be dominating. Like, you should average fucking 30 and 15 AD in your sleep, right? So I'm happy to see that you've been performing as of lately, and hopefully you can keep it up and stay healthy, right? Because you're hell of a player, man. But if you can't stay healthy and you keep getting hurt, I mean, that's out of control. But, yo, keep up that drive, right? So as far as who's going to make it out of the Western Conference, I can't call it, right? I don't think the Suns are going to make it out. That's for sure. I could say that they're not going to make it out. In my opinion, I believe that there are 4 teams that could actually make it out of the Western Conference Finals, and it all depends on the matchups in the playoffs, right? Because, you know, matchups, you could be the best team in the league, but if you don't match up well versus another team and they have your number just based off of matchups, player personnel, even coaching, adjustments, and things like that, like everything comes into play when you talk about a playoff series, right? So, obviously, the Warriors are more than capable of repeating. They're not doing good right now, but that's not going to last long. You know, trust me on that. So I think it's really out of the Warriors, the Mavericks. Actually, 6 teams I say could actually make it out the West. The Lakers, I'm picking the Lakers, not because I'm biased, but because I've seen a lot of improvement in a short time. And if these improvements continue to stay steady, like if Anthony Davis keeps performing at the same energy level, I'm not talking for him to get 30 points and 20 rebounds every single night, but the energy and the effort of trying to get that many points and rebounds has to be there. So the energy and the effort has to always be there. The numbers and the shots, they'll fall sometimes they won't, right? But the effort and the energy has to always be there. So Anthony Davis, if you keep that up, you guys have a chance to win the championship once again. So you got the Lakers, obviously the Warriors for obvious reasons, got 2 of the best shooters ever, all time on the same team. So it's going to be hard to knock the defending champs off. That's 2 right there. Memphis, number 3. By the way, these aren't in any order. Dallas Mavericks, because they were in the conference finals last year. The 4th team. The Denver Nuggets, simply because of Jokic, and they're getting they got Jamal Murray back and Michael Porter Jr. back, and if they can stay healthy, that team is a problem matchup-wise as well. And so that is, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 teams. And the 6th team that I'm choosing is split in between 2. So it could either be the Clippers based on how Kawhi is coming back from his injury, or the Pelicans, because the Pelicans, they're looking pretty good, right? So, I mean, this is where we're at this point into the season, right? About 16 to 18 games in. No clear-cut favorite in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, you got the 2 juggernauts with the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. And the reason why the Philadelphia 76ers aren't up there is because they haven't been to a final since Allen Iverson, right? And especially with this core group, with Harden, Maxey, and Embiid, they have to stay healthy long enough, and they have to make it through a playoff run healthy. So I don't really trust them like I would trust Milwaukee or the Boston Celtics to get to the finals. Eastern Conference Finals at that, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And then early season rewards, right? I mean, if we're going to get into that, I'd have to say right now, Luka Doncic is definitely leading the MVP race. But, because it's early, you can't determine teams' records, right? Because things could change. But I have to mention Anthony Davis now in this MVP, early MVP conversation, right? And why? Because let's just take a look at his last 5 games, right? All right, even before the last 5 games, these are his averages on the season after those 5 games that he just had. He averages 26.4 points, which is 12th in the league. He's number 1 in rebounds, and he's number 4 in player efficiency rating. So those are solid numbers. And he also averages 2 blocks and almost 2 steals. Like, his defense has been phenomenal. So, right now, I would say Luka Doncic is the front runner. Anthony Davis is knocking on the door. Along with the usual suspects like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. Right now, those are my 4 picks of the early, I guess you would call it early return voting for MVP of the NBA season. So, yeah, and I mean, as far as that goes, you got a couple of games on tonight, actually. Philly plays the Hornets, and actually, Philly just beat Brooklyn, and Philly didn't have any of their 3 superstars, and Brooklyn did. You see? So, having superstars isn't always the recipe for winning, right? You have to actually have a team, people who have assigned roles and fulfill those roles and do it to the best of their ability. So, with that being said, the Nets, they're talented, but they're not a real team, in my opinion. So the games you got going on tonight are the 76ers at the Hornets. I'm going with the 76ers because the Hornets are trash. I mean, absolutely trash. Now, the Sixers, they don't have their 3 stars, right? But they were still able to get a win without them. So, and the Hornets don't have Ball. He got hurt, and he's their best player. So, I don't think the Hornets stand a chance. And the second game on the schedule shows the Portland Trail Blazers versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's going to be an exciting game. Why? Because you got these dynamic guards going at each other, right? So in Cleveland, you got Donovan Mitchell and, is it Garland? Yeah, I think it's Garland. Fuck. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell and Garland, I believe. Let me just double check. It's either Garland or Sexton. I forget which one they traded for. Newsflash, I don't watch the Cavs like that. So, yeah. Alright, it's Garland. So you got Garland and Donovan Mitchell on one team versus Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons on the other, right? Anthony Simons is a really improved player. He could definitely put the ball in the bucket. So, you got a backcourt of dynamic guards going against each other. And then also, because Cleveland has some talented bigs too, with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and company. Portland also has Jeremy Grant and Yusuf Nurkic. I believe that's how you say his name as well. So they're pretty much like almost even kill at each position. You know what I mean? I think that the winner of this game will be based on how the bench performs. And I am going to pick the Cavaliers to win this game because they are at home and they are 7-1 at home. Okay, so Timberwolves and Pacers are the third game. I'm going to choose the Pacers because I think the Timberwolves suck. They do. I'm sorry. They have Rudy Gobert and Anthony Towns in the same starting lineup. I thought when they made that trade for Rudy Gobert, it was the dumbest thing that they could have done. I mean, you gave up all of this for Rudy Gobert. Like, Rudy Gobert ain't no modern day Shaq. He could block shots and rebound. That's all you're going to get from him. Sometimes he may score, but yeah, the Timberwolves are trash, so I'm picking the Indiana Pacers. Okay, now the next game, 7:30, we got the Sacramento Kings versus the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Sacramento Kings are on a win streak, but I think that ends tonight. Their win streak will end at 7, and I'm going to pick the Atlanta Hawks because I believe that Trae Young and DeJounte Murray will simply be too much for the Sacramento Kings to overcome, especially because last game that DeJounte Murray had, he didn't perform too well, so I don't see him having 2 games in a row like that. And then primetime television, national broadcast, we got the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. So I am I'm going to pick the underdog, and I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks, simply because I think Luka is going to light him up for like 45, like a 45-point triple-double. I think that's what Luka's going to have tonight. And I'm picking the Mavericks to win that game. Okay, so now this next game, we got the Wizards versus the Miami Heat. I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards. I believe that the Washington Wizards simply have a better team than the Miami Heat. I believe the Miami Heat's roster is kind of stale now. I think they definitely need to make some changes. They definitely need some players if they want to make any noise in the playoffs, because Jimmy Butler just ain't going to cut it. You need somebody more than Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo, he's not as good as advertised. You know, he's probably at best a number 3 on a championship team. He can't be number 2 or 1A, 1B on a championship team. It's just not going to work. He's not built like that. So I'm going to choose the Washington Wizards for that game. And then the Nets play the Raptors tonight. It's just a back-to-back. Raptors are at home. I'm going to go with the Raptors, simply because I think the Nets don't have enough to win games like that. You know, they have enough talent to win close games, but they don't have enough of a roster that when you take out one of your stars, that they can keep the lead or sustain it. I mean, keep it or improve the lead. They will lose the lead. So I'm choosing the Raptors for that one. And we got the Bucks versus the Bulls. That's easy. Bucks all day. I mean, Bucks. The Bulls are... It seemed like there's a little turmoil going on there. I know one of the previous games, Zach LaVine, he got angry because he got benched in crunch time, but I believe he was 1 for 14. So, like, if you're shooting that bad and you're playing that bad and you're not impacting the game outside of your terrible shooting, then, yeah, sit your ass on the bench, period. I mean, shit, if I'm shooting that horrible and I'm not making any positive impact, I'll take my damn self out the game. So I'm definitely going with the Bucks, because Giannis is way too much. And even if Giannis doesn't play, the Bucks would still beat him. Bucks are built like that. They've been together for a few years now. They have the championship mentality, and they know how to play defense. They like to play defense, I should say. Most people don't. And we got the Nuggets at the Thunder. I'm going to go with the Thunder. Actually, the Thunder at home, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's averaging 30 or almost close to 30 points this season through 17 games. So that's not a fluke, right? So I believe with that home crowd too in OKC, which is built like, you know, a college. It's almost like you're at a college March Madness type of environment when you go play in OKC. So I'm choosing the Thunder to upset the Nuggets. And then we got the Pelicans versus the Spurs. That's the easy pick. Pelicans should destroy the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs really don't have any household names. So, yeah, that's a pretty easy pick for me. Then you got the Utah Jazz versus the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz, especially because the Utah Jazz are at home. It's like Utah Jazz could have a lot of non-household names, but it's just the environment when you go into that atmosphere in that arena in Salt Lake City with the crowd, the fans, and everything. Utah rarely loses at home. Even when they're not that good, they still have a pretty decent home record. And the Pistons suck, so there's that too. Pistons are 4-15. So, you know, young with no veteran leadership and no real stars yet. So, up-and-coming stars who may be stars in the future, but that's still yet to be seen. And then at 10 o'clock, which is the last game of the night, you got the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Golden State Warriors. So, I know the Warriors didn't play last game. So, you know, Clay, Steph, and then they may be rested. But I'm going to choose the Los Angeles Clippers simply because I like the way that they're gelling, and I honestly think that the Warriors need to make a couple of moves because if they do continue to lose to teams that they normally would beat, you gotta shake something up. You gotta get another scorer, another defender. Speaking of, I don't know why Dwight Howard and Carmelo Anthony aren't on an NBA roster. Meanwhile, DeAndre Jordan is, but that's a story for another day, right? So, that about wraps up my first podcast. Definitely going to be a whole lot more. It's your man, Oskino the Don. This is Dawn of a Don podcast. Many more to come. Many discussions and topics for me to touch on. It ain't just going to be sports. It's going to be about real life situations, dropping jewels, giving stuff for people to, I guess, like dropping knowledge, basically. My bad, I was at a loss for words for a second. This is live, unedited. Definitely support the homie, Oskino the Don. I got a YouTube channel, Oskino the Don. Link is in my bio. It's been a pleasure. To everybody out there celebrating the upcoming holiday, I hope you guys know exactly what you mean to those that you love. Because this should be a celebration of love. You know what I mean? Being thankful for the people in your family, the people that you love, right? I mean, we know what the holiday was based off of, but hey, we always take something and make it our own, right? So, for me, Thanksgiving is every day. I'm very thankful for my family. I wouldn't ask for anything else if it would take away from what I already got. So I'm very thankful. I hope you guys out there are thankful and grateful. You stay safe. Keep loving your heart. And as always, it's your boy Oskino the Don, coming to you with peace and one love.